Good evening, JCF.
Raghu, आ गया क्या?
Welcome to a fantastic, wonderful Sunday evening. Just wait. Oh, I just have to wait for Raghvendra.
Raghvendra is already there.
He's already there.
Arora is there. Yeah.
He's already there? Yeah.
That says Arora.
So, good evening, JCF. Welcome to a fantastic, wonderful Sunday evening. The style of dressing or behaving that is the most popular at a particular time, the way you do something. Fashion is a popular aesthetic expression at a particular time and a specific context, especially in clothing. Something is to make in a particular form. Most commonly, fashion is defined as the prevailing style of dress or behavior at any given time. Fashion goes as back to centuries. Way of wearing, style of wearing. कितने आराम से आज भी हम रिलेट करते हैं, क्या रामचंद्र जी जैसे दिख रहे हो, क्या सीता लग रही हो. Akbar had a style, so Jodhabai had hers. Countries are identified with clothing. When we see someone from Scotland, it takes fraction of a second to identify the country. Sheikh, Rais or Sultan from Arab, you can in few seconds. Gandhian style of Deepika Padukone, style of Anil Kapoor, style of Virat Kohli, and you will be happy to know they all have one doctor in common. And their doctor is their fashion designer. The biggest name of the fashion industry. Yes, you guessed it right. It is Raghvendra Rathore. Yes, we have with us in JCF Hum Tum Series 5, Raghvendra Rathore with us. He represents an industry of $1,000 billion. He is basically a proud royal Rajasthani Rajput from Jodhpur. इनकी रगों में royal खून दौड़ता है. I welcome him and dear Tarang Arora, our own Tarang Arora, my dearest son Tarang Arora, and a hero of young generation of Jaipur and India, Tarang Arora, Managing Director of Amrapali, the world famous brand Tarang Arora. He will be our moderator today. And now I hand over the mic to his father, my brother, and our JCF chairman, Rajiv Arora. Over to dear Rajiv Bhai to introduce dear Raghvendra Rathore and to say a few words about JCF. Over to Rajiv Bhai.
Thank you very much, Jajoo Sahab. Welcome everyone, Raghvendra Rathore, Tarang, and all the participants. As you know, JCF is working hard at this time also with COVID-19. Our team led by J.K.Jajoo going every day to SMS Hospital and Jaipuri Hospital and supplying all the requirements that doctors send us every day. So this work is going on. And because all our members, they always are inclined towards art and culture, fashion, lifestyle, we thought, why not we start a series of webinar through JCF, and this is the 5th of this whole series. We have today Raghvendra Rathore. He's very close to me, and we call him Raghu because I know the family from last 30, 35 years, maybe 40 years. Raghu's mother, Usha Devi, she was my customer. Then we became friends. I used to go and stay in Ajit Bhavan, used to meet his father, Swarup Singh Ji, Maharaja Swarup Singh Ji. And we are so proud to see Raghu on the fashion scene of not only India, but around the world. So I'll just give some introduction about Raghu. So he was born and brought up in New City of Forts and Rajasthani Splendor, Jodhpur. We all know Jodhpur very well. And you will see in all his creations, there is some kind of reference which comes from Jodhpur. He was raised in Janana and he is a cousin of Maharaj Gat Singh of Jodhpur. Coincidentally, I took over as chairman Rajasthan Tourism Development Corporation of Maharaj Gat Singh Ji. Very nice human being. So is Raghu. very, very, very honest, straightforward, focused person. He went to US for graduation in Parsons College of Design in New York, which inspired him to become a fashion designer. He has revolutionized the dressing style of Indian men, as we well sought after by international clients who seek his unique clothes that display aesthetics, tradition, and current fashion trends. For Tarang's wedding, I was wearing Raghvendra Rathore, and the whole family Tarang was wearing, and Rajesh also. That also shows that Raghu is so close to us, and we all proud that Rajasthani is on the top of the world. He's labeled Rathore. And Raghvendra has not achieved everything that I just mentioned, but he has some hidden talents also, which you should all know. He's a state swimmer, great swimmer. He is a student of robotics. He stores vintage cars. You can see a good collection when you go to Jodhpur, visit Ajit Bhavan and see his collection of cars. He was host in BBC. He's a hotelier, has many hotels in Jodhpur, Narla, and different places. And most recently, he has started a design school in Jaipur, and he gives a lot of time in creating with enthusiasm and passion the future design entrepreneurs. To start with, I would like to thank Raghu for being with us today on behalf of the entire JCF team. And I think Rasleen is with us. I will request Rasleen, please show a AV which can give us a big idea which celebrities Raghu is dressing all the time and his design sense. So over to Rasleen. Rasleen, are you hearing me? Yeah.
A bit of the classic past, as well as sharp tailoring, taking the best elements of our cultural past and dressing us in a way that we can be proud to be dressed as Indians. The kind of time that it looks back to and the kind of era it recreates in my mind is something that romantic, nostalgically I connect to and like.
Raghvendra Rathore Bangla, nobody in the world can beat. You may bring the best tailors from Italy, from London, but just the shape and the fit of it, nobody can even touch it.
I think the designs are very Indian, and the designs bring out the beauty of Indian fabric, Indian design, and give you your own identity. Clothing was very beautiful, fitted me perfectly. I felt as if I was born in this clothes.
It makes me feel good. That's the most important thing. And I'm finally feeling comfortable in what he's made me wear. And that's the most important.
I find Raghu is one of the more creative designers that we have. And I find 2 or 3 things which seem quite unique about him. One, that he's able to fit you in a manner which sometimes when you look at it may be uncomfortable, but when you wear it, it seems wonderful and certainly looks very stylish. And I like that he's a warm, wonderful human being as well.
RR is it's got a very international look to it, but it's got a very stylish Indian tinge to it. So I think that's a good combination he has.
Is a fantastic human being, great artist, and his brand, I'm so happy that it's going global. I always knew that he is not only a national treasure, but he's a global treasure.
He mixes his Indian heritage with a global aesthetic, and I think it's there for the world to take and enjoy.
Once you start working with him and start using his clothes, I don't think anyone is going to go anywhere.
to do the kind of styling that he does?
I think that RR is more than just a clothing brand. I think it's an experience, it's a feeling, it's a cultural expression of India and an authentic one. And the detailing that goes into it, it's, you're right, it's a form of luxury to be in one of his garments.
Rajasthan, how beautiful it is. When you go there and you feel as if you're royalty. No matter where you are, how you are, you feel the sense of royalty. And if you wear a Raghu, you feel even more royal.
So now I'll request Tarang to moderate this session. So over to Tarang now.
Thank you. Just want to thank everyone, Jajoo uncle, my dad, and thank you to Raghu for accepting this and telling us about himself, about his journey. So the first question I have here for Raghu is, Raghu, please tell us about your childhood. Being from the royal family, how was it growing up in Jodhpur? Also, where all did you study and how did you get into designing?
Firstly, I'd like to thank Mr. Jajoo, Mr. Arora and Tarang for inviting me for this really prestigious forum. What you all are doing at JCFT is remarkable. I wish I do need to reach out. Please reach out to me. I'd be happy to put some people to them. I just want to thank everybody to take the time to be with us, and the initiative you're doing is commendable and inspirational. So, I'm actually a small kid from talk to people. All these stalwarts on the, I can see some, I recognize some, and I feel small compared to a lot of the achievements people have done. So, I just think that what made my life change really was the dream which I pursued. I never stepped out of Jodhpur for most of my early half of my life. I know we went to Mayo College and then came back to Jodhpur, but my first trip to Bombay, I think, changed everything, because firstly I couldn't understand the sense of water, the amount of water that I saw. So I was always going through these cultural shocks, Tarang. So to me, life was really very biological. I had my Bua who was married in the Baroda family, and she used to live in Juhu. And every time I got a chance to get out of Jodhpur, I used to take a train and just land up at a doorstep and sit. And I just want to see the sea. So to me,
especially coming from Jodhpur, you want to go and see the water.
Exactly. I think it's the dreams. I also grew up with a father who was a MLA. His majority of his life was actually in the village, and he loved getting Rakhis tied from all the Bishnoi, ladies. And I just was fascinated watching that whole cultural experience unfold in front of me. But I did not really feel very comfortable in the pedigree that one was born into. I just found that very awkward. It was always, I've never been comfortable acknowledging, now have. In the old days, I don't think there were any privileges. Rajiv ji knows the tough times that most of my families, that extends to not only Rajasthan, but goes all the way to Himachal. And people went through, it was being generals of armies that didn't exist. So I think the realization of being born in a small town and have the ability to think beyond that really changed the direction that I took. So my early years, if you ask me what you remember, was flashes of so because Ajit Bhavan, which my father, I think there was a land ruling where land that was not utilized could be confiscated. The fear set in, and so he designed the hotel in such a way that one room is on one end of the house and the other room was in the other end of the house. And it was actually insurance for darker times because there was so much of uncertainty. But in doing so, he actually laid the foundation for a hotel which we started calling the Heritage Hotel. I think it was a word coined by stalwarts like the people who are now working out of Delhi in Incredible India campaign. I'm sure Rajiv knows who I'm referring to, but the story really started with a very biological approach, and there was no ambition. There was no, the idea was to preserve what was ancestral, and the hotel sort of came about. I remember being teased in school, in boarding school, that you have foreigners coming to your house, and it's very she to do that, and all the Rajput boys would gang up against me, and Mayo College was a sort of a cesspool of all these complications that I had to go through. But to me, I think I was looking beyond that, and I think that really helped. My drives in the Jeep with my father to the to Goda district or Luni Kshetra, where he was standing up from, I think showed me this amazing glimpse into what is possible. Much later, once Google and various different platforms arrived, I started questioning those early years because there was a man called Pukya and he used to make these carpets. And I always wondered that he never used a textbook to get his context right of colors and the way he wove in those beautiful weaves into the carpets. And I could stand there for hours and wonder. And today, when I take the students from Gurukula School, School of Design, to see that, I said, mark my words, he's never going to take a reference out of Google search and see references. And how do these people do it? You see, I think that really triggered the big quest, the 6-year journey of my life. So I left Jodhpur very early and went off to a place called Hampshire College, and then moved to Vermont, studied art, studied philosophy, I studied technology, and then I eventually landed up in New York to finish from a design school and came and set up a small business in Jodhpur. The question everybody was asking me is that, what are you going to do in Jodhpur? How do you set up a business in a small town and get people to buy from you? So I think those are the big challenges that I remember.
So what you were mentioning about the carpet weavers and things like that. When I'm being asked such things as well, I think the bigger problem today is that we have social media, we have references, and more kids keep seeing those references. They keep getting inspired by those. Hence, they never end up thinking about something new or something original. And that's what happens when you don't have maybe Google or as many references, is to be able to basically just design and think about colors. And anyways, my next question here is, I know you worked for many celebrated designers before starting your brand. What were the important learnings while doing this and growing in the fashion world? So we know Oscar de la Renta and multiple you've worked with. And I mean, what was that all about? And then again, as you said, technology and art, and then eventually designing. So it seems like quite a journey.
Well, I always, I have 2 kids of my own, and 17 and 14. Devyani is 14 and Amar is 17. So my only advice to them, and what was advised to me by my father, was that, focus all your energy on life skills, on emotion, on being able to be original, and don't focus and worry about the technical, because over time, technical will get replaced by artificial intelligence, things like Google. So I think the early years, with especially working with people like Donna Karen, who actually had to use a fabric which was for 75 rupees and sell it for 250 rupees. So the challenge was set in the morning, saying that you got a knit fabric, right? This has been used for like 500 years now. Please come up with a new version of that. So you're playing with a resource which is so cheap, and you have to reinvent the wheel there. So there was a lot of learning there to how to take something cheap and make it more expensive. What kind of visual content? This was for Donna Karan. And then I moved to De La Renta, which taught a very different skill set, which was about creating and inducing emotion in whatever you do. I mean, Mr. De La Renta's, I remember minutes before the show, he used to hide behind the door so he doesn't have to meet the press and all that. And he would push me in the front and say, you tell him that he's in the loo, or find a way to find a solution. And I'm standing there exposed to all the front row ladies, and I'm talking about Mrs. Brooke Astor, I had Mrs. Kennedy Onassis, we had 75 ladies who lunched in New York sitting in front, and I had to find a way to make sure they're happy and he's happy. And I think that was the biggest learning. To me, fashion is not about what happens on the runway. It's really how you create and weave a story in your product. And I think that becomes something which is fashion designer, which I'm not. I believe in the classic. I believe in creating products which are going to last forever. So the learnings, if you ask me, really were to understand what really fashion is. And I think fashion really is an emotion. Until you can feel it in your heart and you really want a bag or a scarf or an outfit or whatever it is, the designer has not been able to project the context of what they want to do. So that was a great learning.
But from Donna Karan, which has a completely different look to everyone else, all of them, and then land up in menswear, or primarily menswear, I could say that time, or they started with that. So what, I mean,
we were actually a women's wear brand. My first show in Jodhpur was only women's wear, and then for many years we did that. But luckily, I brought in a right bunch of people. I realized that you really can't run a hotel as somebody who's not trained to run a heritage hotel. So we bring in managers, and then we bring in experts who are CEOs, and you bring in all the corporatized frame structure in the business. The same thing I thought was probably the most intelligent person in the industry and bring him in. So I found the person who could take 1 rupee and bifurcate that into 25 parts. That this is the tax structure. This is how can you save money from 1 rupee, and you've met my CEO. So we sat and hatched a plan for the next 10 years. And he said, let's move away from this rat race of lehengas and women's wear, which is going to be a bloodbath, because we had seen Xenia and also international brands from Dubai coming in doing wedding trousseaux. There was going to be this internet. So today you can be a designer sitting in Pakistan and people can access your lehengas. So you don't really have a market share. But for women, for men's, and for next 3-4 years, you will still feel it till, brands like Massimo Dutti or other fill the slots. And it's a slower moving market. So we changed to take a U-turn and correct our product. That's really what happened. So we actually migrated on an intellectual decision, not because of my personal passion, because I had the right people to sort of convert that. And we in those days started thinking about investment from overseas menswear brands. And I think we met our mark 10 years later with Xenia sort of coming in and being partners with us.
So again, so when we think about a groom's outfit or any other Indian formal menswear, we think about a bangala, something which has been that tradition. You took something which was already existing and represented it. How were you able to do this with something so simple and owning that genre? How did you?
It's a lovely story, because every time, during Akatij or these festivals, we go to my cousin PUBG and visit him. In his office, there's a lovely little painting, which I think is the first painting where I think it is Jaswant Singh Sahib, the great grandfather, wearing a angarkha and holding a horse. It's a painting, it's a miniature, but not a miniature. And that's the first time I've seen him actually wearing an angarkha. So there was a lot of Persian influence, and the outfits were very Mughal inspired. And then suddenly there's a painting which is right next to that painting where he's wearing a tailored look. And I always questioned myself that what was the transition that must have taken. And the quest led me to Makhanlal Taylor, the one who used to make our blazers and our banglas in Mayo College. And I asked him these questions. I was very little, I was joking with him, but I said, you know, why do we cut our armholes the way we cut it in India? So the difference between a Giorgio Armani jacket and a jacket, not mine, but anybody, any tailor on the road, is that we cut armholes very high. Okay. Because everybody is really for the paunch. We very acceptable in Rajasthan. It's not acceptable in Punjab. And in the South, again, it's very acceptable. 18 inches means that you're a trim person and you take care and you do a workout and you have a regime. But I realized that Armani and John Paul Gaultier, all these guys were cutting them at 28, 23 inches. And I always found that very fascinating, not from a fashion point of view, but from an emotional point of view that, you know, people where they're happy have lower armholes, which means they don't care. They just wear a jacket that fits them and then they go off. In India, we are very conscious people. We are conscious about our reputation. We're conscious now with the selfie. It's even, you know, the silhouette is very important. So we had a choice in, I'm talking about 15 years ago, which pattern to follow. Do you go with the John Paul Gaultier Parisian pattern, which is what I had learned and things, or do you go with a old Guruji style pattern or a Makhanlal Taylor from Ajmer pattern? And we merged, actually changed everything because people actually could wear a bangala with 2 buttons open. That was the first time, because my father, if he saw anybody wearing a bangala with 2 buttons, he would go and try to close them and say, this is not how you wear it. So we defied the laws of style and we brought that look in. And I think the first time we actually got a tap on our back was when Vidhu Vinod Chopra, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and Saif Ali Khan and one more person, I'm sorry, we were all in Udaipur shooting a movie called Eklavya. And there's a much, you know, there was so much passion in that movie about clothes, which took me by surprise because I'd had a fight with Mr. Bachchan in the morning about, he said that, oh, Chita Jalane ke liye this outfit works, but the shoes, I'm going to wear what I wore in Diwar movie because they're lucky for me. And I said, you know, we don't wear shoes. When you go, culturally, it defies, and the safa also kept on pushing it down. Because, you know, when you wear a safa, the left eyebrow has to be cut. And it goes right above this eye. And if you're wearing a medallion or if you're wearing a sarpej, it needs to fall right on the eye. And that's how it's designed. I mean, that's the proportion. I can't, you know, add to it, but that's how people used to wear it. And he insisted and he put it like a Punjabi pag, you know, he moved it and if you see the movie, you'll know what I'm saying. So we had this, the Libran, I'm a Libran, we both stuck to it. And then Mr. Vinod was called in. So he says, what else can you give him? So we gave him this half bandgala, half something, I can't remember now, but he accepted it. So everybody started accepting because, you know, we managed to create, and I think designing clothes for Bollywood is not like designing clothes for personalities and clients that we deal with. You have to cater to a little bit of flattery and also look at the script and find a common ground. And generally the actor wins because if they get into a sulk, you've had it. So the point I was making is that that's the first time we actually put Mr. Saif Ali Khan in a bangala jacket and he insisted to wear it completely. And he's getting out of a helicopter. He's coming as a prince back to this horrible news that his father's passed away. And the question really was, is that the right way to depict this forever and ever? And I said, it is. So they had all these guys mounted on horses with big flags. And I said, you never, if somebody's died, they'll always be standing there. So they got them all to get off. And we removed all the banglas. We gave them different clothes because you don't want to show pomp, and it's a sad day. Everybody has to wear certain colors. So the point being that Bollywood has really helped push the look. It's really not me. It's actually these lovely opportunities we got to work with Mr. Bachchan for KBC, the first sequence we did with him, or other people. And I think that's really, I mean, even in Oh My God, I'd given Akshay these looks that were very classic, but it sort of captured the imagination of the masses as they wanted. So the point I'm making is that these clothes have been there before I came, before even, the culture of Jodhpur. And I think the beauty of all this is that one needs to sort of tame it and control it and parcel it, repackage it and reparcel it, depending on the demand in the market.
I mean, this has been around since 1600s, right? Banglas have been, or that is what is said. I don't know if that is true or not. You will be able to tell us better, but you definitely have a cut in place. I mean, a Raghvendra Rathore cut, a Bangala will fit you at that time, and it'll fit you perfectly. And I mean, so I guess I think you're being very humble about saying that it's Bollywood, but I think it's definitely you as well, having the right tailoring, right cuts, right material. I mean, I wear a lot of your clothes, so I know that. So,
well, what's happened is the world of social media has driven people to madness to get the right fit. I get messages. In fact, there was a wedding recently before this lockdown in Udaipur, and I'm talking about people who own $600 billion companies sending me messages and images of people who are badly dressed, who are their peers. This is a phenomenon that is what's creating panic. So there's a group with all these titans who run billion-dollar businesses who send pictures saying, I like that, can you make my version of it? Who is this guy? Why is he wearing this? Is this worn right? That person is not wearing the right. Is that correct? And I can't name names. This is my business. Sure. There are kings from the Middle East. That group is fascinating because it actually determines what we're going to do next. Yeah. So our inspiration really comes from our customer. And I think people make the mistake of saying this is cheaper, we'll get away with it. But people are whispering behind your back, and especially now more so because you are photographed 400 times much more frequently than you could have 5 years ago. And it's only going to get worse.
Anyways, you're growing your footprint in the country and abroad. Please talk to us about the brand Arora and now having partners like Xenia and Reliance. I mean, we briefly heard the journey, but how do you get these guys to come in, and what were the points which they saw and they were obviously interested in, and how did that happen?
So, I realized, Tarang, that no designer was willing to sell. I'm talking about, my colleagues. We are 67 of us on one group. When I say group, it's either WhatsApp or it's a group where we all meet and chat. Sure. And these are pretty much all the brands that have stores in India. And nobody was buckling from this position that I want an investor, but I also want to relinquish what kind of percentage should they come in. And, there's a utter confusion. For 4 years, we've been on the lookout for good partners. We had almost shake hands with various different venture capitalist firms. But I always was looking for somebody who could actually give me access to stores. To me today, Xenia, sitting in, we're all connected right now. And I say, we want to do a Jodhpur night in Germany. You have access to 40 stores. The entire database is available to you. So what would have been a better option? I could have just gone with the Reliance part. We dress Mr. Ambani a lot, and he kept on telling me that, take over this company and, make that into a fashion. I said, you can't take, he offered me the brand at Marks and Spencer. He says, take over Marks and Spencer's and make it a designer bag. I said, it's a different price point. He said, yeah, okay, fine. So what do you want? I said, well, we were stuck in an elevator going up to his roof. And this whole deal happened in an elevator in literally 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds. Because by the time we were out of the elevator, he says, I just want you to station a whole team, your whole department should be here to dress me every time I need the clothes. I said, done. So we actually have a permanent setup in not only, I can talk about him because he's my partner, but I have 11 such people that in Bombay have a small little room where we have permanent solutions for at least the men in the house. So I think, to me, I think it's a journey. We are not a long-term investment. We are going to reshuffle everything. Today, when I went to see the setup and understand how the fabric comes from New Zealand, they actually have sheep which grow the wool. The wool is taken quickly processed. It's an amazing journey, but unfortunately in India, the emotion behind the wool is really not a consideration when you're buying an outfit. You're looking at the event, how many times they're going to wear it, and at the same time, the price point. So not all I want to sell the world's most amazing tailored jacket that we are about to make. This is not a bangala, this is a jacket. We're getting into jackets now. It would cost the same as Tom Ford or anybody else, but I know the market is very limited. So to me, to go there and use those resources makes no sense. But to understand and bring their people to set up the unit, which they have just done in Gurgaon for us, has been a great. So the tie-up is more about having a kosher balance sheet. I mean, we have Deloitte's auditing our accounts. I'm a very small company, but to have all this amazing learning and becoming the yardstick for the Indian fashion community now, because now everybody's using Deloitte's in the fashion world in Delhi. All the ratios that we did in our deal are being utilized by a lot of other deals. Nikhil and Shantanu have just been bought into, and the 3 other who are in the pipeline. So I feel very privileged that, putting our best efforts, and having Xenia gives you sort of you can actually shake hands and, with people in the fashion world. They've invested in another designer in Italy. We were at their office. So there's a lot of exchange, and people see you eye to eye. They don't see you as somebody from India, struggling with export, import issues or just a production ground. So I think there are a lot of perks. This comes very handy when you think of the Gurukul School of Design, because these kids can actually go experience so much richness.
No, so I remember 10, 12 years ago in London seeing a Xenia collection which was made with, had this Bangala look. And I don't know if it was called Jaisalmer or Jodhpur. I think it was called Jaisalmer. And I remember going in, I wanted to get that for my uncle Rajesh, and I mean, I know it'll look very good on him and fit him very well. And then when I heard that Xenia had partnered with you, it's kind of just made sense. They already had that sensibility, the right card, the right material. It just made sense. But as you were talking about Gurukul School of Design, maybe we show them a small video about what Gurukul is, and then I have some questions on that as well.
Sure.
The Gurukul School of Design basically exemplifies the training in ideation and entrepreneur spirit. It's very important for us to keep an eye on the future of design. The students graduating must be able to cope up with the changes in the market. The universe of entrepreneurs is evolving at a rapid speed. So the idea for us really is to empower them to have a vision, execution, and also semantics of the business of design.
The
whole idea with Gurukul School of Designing is the attention which each and every student would get, which is the very Gurukul way of studying, which is very small classes where the teacher and the student have a one-to-one interaction.
The infrastructure that they get, the environment that they get is very rustic. It takes us back to our roots, which is the Guru Shishya kind of philosophy.
Here we are allowed to breathe into the creativity of our own style, and we are allowed to develop it, and it doesn't have to fit into any norms or conditions.
We also have specializations where you can explore different areas of the design field, and then you can explore a bit more some field that you may want to go into.
We cover everything from how they can sleep better and how they can eat better and how they can use their minds more productively. We introduced them to a bit of neuroscience and Carl Jung and philosophy. So it's trying to make the students more aware.
It's very important that more programs like this be put into place. Very important for schools to understand also what universities are looking for, and also engage with people like us who do offer a lot of internship programs to students as early as class 10 and 12.
I think it's extremely important that we teach our young people to become design thinkers and to be connected to the world of design.
What we need in our modern education system, it brings design center stage, reflection of who we are, and to bring about design in every aspect of our lives, cultural, intellectual and spiritual.
There's an innate genius in the people of this country. We must make this genius into something which is very global and which will occupy a very seminal place on the globe. And to have somebody like Raghu come and start a design school where he's going to train young people with an Indian ethos, with the Indian culture, the Indian attitude, to be among the best in the world.
हम कहते हैं कि भारत is considered as the Vishwa Guru because of its Vedas, Puranas, and of course, the beautiful arts. We should do concentrate on American design or European design or Australian design, but our Bharat design is great than every country.
Raghvendra Rathore's initiative on design education is a wonderful idea. He will reach out and help people enhance their creative spirit, but do it in a manner that they can actually use it to create careers for themselves.
Apart from the curriculum, we are also exposed to some marvelous experiences.
We go on excursions, we go on trips, and we have other outdoor activities as well as theory projects that we have to do.
Then we have workshops like tie and dye, filmmaking, and many more.
I believe that it makes me feel prepared for the industry that I'm supposed to work in.
To explore incorporating the culture, the knowledge that they have, the travels that they have done, the different foods that they have eaten, to incorporate all these little insights in the final project and to see that blooming up, it's amazing.
We are trying to send the students outside to the professional people where actually they have the interaction one-to-one with this, the best industry people.
The whole course is so interdisciplinary. We teach students how to create a concept first and then how to take it to the design, which is going to be contemporary and can sustain in the current market.
You don't want to learn something that is being designed for people who are in the Western Hemisphere. You want to learn and have the training so you can actually unleash your talent and commercialize it as soon as possible for the market that they're going to inherit.
Sorry. Thank you, Rasleen. So Raghu, GSD, Gurukul School of Design, it's been something very close to your heart and something you give a lot of time to. And obviously the video also shows that you're interacting with the students regularly. But why a design school? And there's so many design schools out there. And what do you think is the future post-COVID for education?
So I think, I was very lucky, Tarang. I was struggling, Parsons was about $40,000, I'm talking about 25 years ago. And I just think there was a lot of burden on the family. So I chose to go, I worked a lot in New York to generate that revenue, and I still couldn't make up the gap. And I pleasantly was surprised one day, somebody believed what I was doing, and they said, just help somebody one day. So when I came back, I remember going to every department, every office, trying to find piece of land. I think we were very lucky that the land was procured many, many years ago, but it took almost 10 years to get the place going. And I think it's also an ode back to what, what mistake designers make is like constantly worry about the next season, worry about their own collection, their revenues. I was very, very clear from day one that the certain amount of give back must happen at some point. So when we crossed that threshold, we became sort of established in terms of menswear. I remember telling my board that we will start a school to be able to create the next wave of designers to create products for us and for other departments. So it actually was a logical step for the brand to take. I have faith. Today it's very new. People, I applaud the parents to have sent the kids without the building. I've never heard of something like that. So I believe that there is a tremendous responsibility to create a new language of design in India, like you have in Italy. You have a Japanese design language. We unfortunately had one we forgot somewhere. You have the amazing interiors of the Umaid Bhavan Palace in Jodhpur. In Jaipur, you have so many, there's a lot of design in our lives which has happened. So somewhere it got sort of, the link broke. And if you, I saw my son with a camera in Delhi to find one building that he liked to shoot, which was after independence, and he couldn't find a single building that was appeasing to his aesthetics. He found, so there is a crisis ahead of us. So you need an army of designers in the future who will blend education not as a fashion design. That's what school is about, as you would know, and your support and your father's. He's replaced my father in many ways. I want to thank you for the earlier introduction, but to me, I think it's a continuity of what we stand for. Yes, it's the hardest thing to do what we are doing. Firstly, to build from scratch. And why do you need a building when you can rent a building and run a school? Because people believe in you. And I think if you want to make this into a brand, we are now talking to the museum in Paris. They've actually affiliated very strongly, and the bonds are so strong. The Louvre wants to do something, and I'm excited that we managed to actually charge up the right people. So to me, I think this will become a bigger brand than my present status as a fashion designer, and education is a great give back to society. We all get so busy in our own ways, and we forget that, Rajshri would probably be, and there are other people I see understand this language. I'm saying that there is no better thing to give back than education, the gift of education. We have some very intelligent and smart kids. It will take time. That's all I'm saying. It's a steep journey, but we're working on some amazing things, as most of them are known to you. And I think with your accrement of product design and understanding, these kids have nothing. I was talking to Gaurav Gupta, who came on the chat with these kids day before, and he says, I want to go work at Tarang's, jewelry studio. So it's funny that it's a lovely collaboration of people that, if the times are right, hopefully we can actually take forward.
Which basically what my dad and uncle has always sort of taught me and sort of always say that you learn, then you earn, and then you return. And I think you're in that phase, and I think a lot of design associated people are in that. Whoever has achieved something wants to give back, so probably a part of that. But the next one, what I was saying was that what do you think is the plan ahead post this COVID, the fashion industry? Is digitalization something which is very important, and do you think primarily sales will happen via social media? What about with what you do, like made to measure? How would made to measure work with on the internet or via social media, via WhatsApp or how?
Well, I think there's a lot of opinion being thrown around. I was talking to some investors the other day, and I was trying to understand what the temperament, from a design point of view, is going to be in the market. The window of experimentation is 2 years. I mean, whatever will happen after 2 years, it'll be a different world or it'll be the same world. We'll find out. But I think what this lockdown has taught us, the value of time has just become something that we have all realized that, you can actually do so much and save and have a very sustainable approach. Most of the board meetings, I mean, my meetings from Singapore, then I have people from Bombay coming in. I think we all were chatting the other day, that is resolved, that we saved almost 15 lakhs getting all this. So there's going to be a lot of acceptance, whether it's buying clothes online, whether it's buying, having a consultation online. I think people have come to terms, and a lot of people who never chose to use the internet have become very open-minded. So I think this open-mindedness is going to give a new definition of how people also respond to your product. Earlier you could create a collection and get a standing ovation and go and show it in Delhi and Bombay. I don't think that will be the only option. So there has to be ingenuity re-infused in everything that is to do with selling a product. Even if it is, something that you're beginning to start, and everything is going to evolve with a certain percentage of online appreciation, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is going to be a very big thing. I was talking to the people who run Zoom, and I didn't know that our conversation, if I move back away from the screen, if my voice goes low, there's actually an AI algorithm that kicks in to take the voice up. I mean, the kind of, this goes all the way to California. They correct it there and it comes back in minute seconds. It was fascinating to understand that, the technology is going to give us the amplitude to do this. Secondly, I think this notion of deadlines will change. I think people will not wait for 4 years of graduation. People will start making money and be successful before they graduate because they have access to the universe. We were on a chat yesterday and we saw 2 young kids from a school in Bombay create something which I would like to endorse and sell it under my brand. And they're not even, in the 11th class. So this internet juggle is going to be a very big disruptor of sorts, which is going to be good eventually. 5 years, it'll all settle down. But the value in real estate that you have on the internet has a new appreciation versus the physical one which we all have. So I think in terms of market and how will it all fall in place, I think logically there's going to be a lot of uncomfortable 3 to 4 months, all the complication, but eventually we will all find a way.
New normal.
Yeah, which I think you know better than I would, so I won't touch on that.
So lastly, before I open this up for the audience, I just want to hear something about the RR Foundation. I've read, I've learned so much about it, and I think everyone should know about it.
Well, it's, our little effort to bring some hygiene changes in small. So Nadla, Rajivji mentioned earlier, is very passionate to all of us, and it's about 5 kilometers from, what's it called? Well, it's midway from here to Udaipur. It's a small village. And Ranakpur, 40 minutes from Ranakpur. So all our design, everything happens in Nadla now because my designers prefer to be there chilling and enjoying the time and space. So what we have done is that all the samples that we create, like we're doing jewelry, we're doing a lot of small things. So the foundation basically is there to empower the right people. Instead of just giving it to manufacturer, we go through a more tedious route. There's a small effort in ode to my father's. So there's a lot of people who are accessing this, and we try to solve problems through design. So we have good friends of yours from Delhi and Bombay pitching in. Somebody wanted a solar water purifier that we got installed. A lot of innovative stuff. Chairs that are for 150 rupees for all the schools. The design has come from Japan. No, it's a very good Japanese designer who's worked out. It's 50 legs. There's a cost-cutting thing. So for 150, 200 you can make a chair. How does all this fit into all this? Is that I think eventually what the aim would be that Gurukul School of Design students will be forced to work, at least give 6 months of their time to create some initiatives in the foundation which will empower people and give privileges to people who don't have. And of course, eventually it can be bought by the other brand. So it's a wheel we're hoping, and with your support, we can bring in a whole different adventure there. So it's a three-legged approach. A fashion brand. We sell a kurta called Nadlai Kurta, which is made by ladies in Nadlai for 75,000 rupees in our store, which basically feeds about 11 to 12 ladies that are working only on this project in Nadlai. So things like that we are working with. We work a lot with the sari brand, Mango, Raw Mango.
Raw Mango,
we
yeah.
work with them. So we work with a lot of designers as partners also for the foundation.
So I'll open it up. I think we have the first question from Jayashree Auntie. So please unmute and...
Good evening, Raghvendra. I'm nostalgic about how you came and mentored our children as the annual day speaker. My question to you is that, fashion is about emotions and you're emotionally charged. With technology jumping in, what are the challenges and how do you face them and overcome them with the artisans, with the embroiders, with the weavers, because technology is taking over? And what are the steps that you have taken to keep their houses, their art alive?
So, what's happened, Jayashree? Well, firstly, thank you for that opportunity. It was a wonderful experience. I still remember meeting the children. To me, children are the subliminal, talent pool for a nation, and I think you've done a fantastic job. What my, aim has always been is to not to change anything, because I don't have the power to change, and I can't also instruct my students at Gurukul or even designers to do it my way. That autonomous freedom for design is very important. What has happened in the last few years after GST was introduced is phenomenal. That today a lehenga that a top designer is selling actually has many layers that you can actually trace back. The proof of a lehenga that is being made in Calcutta by an artisan, they pay tax. Everybody's paying tax, right? So what's happened is that there's a huge shuffle, and not everything has gone in the favor of designers as they have closed shop. I mean, there's 11, yesterday we counted 11 designers who have shut very big, their entire enterprises in places like Emporio, because the cost is finally visible to the customer.
Correct.
This is changing everything. So the abuse that was happening earlier, possibly that you don't pay the artisan enough wealth, or for that matter, if you're overcharging a customer, now it's not possible to do that. The breakup, like the jewelry business, because you know the price of gold, you know the price of silver, you can sort of get a calculation of what the labor is. The same thing is happening in the fashion business. So I think it's automatically cleaning up the system. Within the next 5 years, you will be surprised at what happened in Hong Kong. Like the indigenous designers have completely disappeared in Hong Kong. If there was Bani Chang, I remember he was the Rohit Bal of Hong Kong. You can't find a single store today. And that is the fear and the panic. Besides the wedding market in India, I don't think much is going to survive with the changes that are coming. So the artisans will become the glorified new designers going forward. And I think the designers will have to recalibrate their whole business model to sustain themselves.
The next one I have is Shruti Singhi. I think she's from Parcel.
Yeah. So before that, I would like to say something. This is 5 o'clock, so we are going to extend this program for 10 minutes as there are a lot of questions to be asked. So my request to everyone that the evening is going really great. So we extend it for next 10 minutes. And Shruti is sitting with me. She is a very close friend's daughter, Rajiv Singhi. They live next to me. So here is Shruti.
Hi. Good evening, Mr. Rathore. So with the havoc and the heartbreak of COVID-19, are you questioning your consumption pattern? And what are your thoughts on that? Like, people are consuming mindlessly, like fashion, food, fuel, membership, subscriptions, even screen time, data. So are you questioning your consumption and like what can be done? How can we improve? How can we take like steps to make it? Thank you.
So, you know, what beauty of living in a small town like Jodhpur is that, you know, there's not very much happening. Regardless of what situation we are going through. The day generally starts with us understanding what is important that we need to do today. We are setting up a new plant just before this happened. So yes, the investment has gone in, so there has to be a return on investment. So there's a plan and action. But going forward in terms of consumption of resources or being able to give back, the only way you can do it is to donate your time. I really believe that we are all professionals. I don't know how to make sanitized masks. I can give my factories, but will they be sanitized? Is that a lot of these issues that a lot of designers are doing it, but I would not follow that direction. I would much rather take the value of my time and donate that somewhere, which we are doing on my personal level. The entire family is actually involved in. So in Nadlai, we have started because a lot of people from Bombay came back to Nadlai and infected a lot of people. There's a drive. And just day after this session, I have another Arjun Rampal, myself, and 2 or 3 other people are pushing another drive, which is a UK-based company. So as I said, that with the short time and with the limited resources, even if one can donate their time, I think it's a very good start. But in the long run, is that what your question was? What are you doing for the COVID situation, right? I'm sorry, there was a disturbance there.
Yeah.
So I think in a summary, what I would say is that to me, the most valuable resource is our life, our time, and to be able to find the right. I'm actually very pleasantly surprised that the whole day I'm slotted. Raslin slots me for this and slots me for this. And I'm enjoying this because to me, to be able to give through time, and if it makes a difference, it's a wonderful thing. So once all this is over, I think we'll have to sit with the board and come back and say that what can you physically do that can bring the change. But for now, I think the organization that we're working with is called Go Dharma. You must Google it and see if you guys. So we're trying to find volunteers in Jodhpur as we speak who would be able to use their funds to be able to make an impact in communities which are for art and for creative people. Sorry, I've taken much more time than answering.
How do you unwind?
I think this is unwind with the family 24/7. I mean, what could I have asked for? Both my kids are in a boarding school, so having them with me and Kavita's. I think we've been through Netflix 3 times now, the entire list of movies.
I think after COVID, I was going to be in the studio for 1 week.
No,
next questions. I can take two more because then we have time. We already ahead. We have already extended. We have Mr. Mudit Soni wants to ask something, and we have Shweta Kejriwal. Whoever wants to go first, please.
Hi, Shweta.
Hi, Raghvendra. I'm a designer based in Jaipur. I specialize in cashmere stoles. What I wanted to ask you was, since this pandemic has made people sort of slow down and really realize in a very obvious manner how pollutant the fast fashion industry is, do you feel that the economic slowdown, how of an impact do you think it will have on the fashion industry? And do you think it will drive people towards more heirloom and handloom fashion?
You know, I don't think for luxury market, none of this makes any sense. Initially, people acknowledge it, but when the fact of Birkin's bag is presented or an expensive bag is in front of you, everything evaporates. It's just that the power of communication, of advertising, and the brands, what they have invested in the last 30 years, you can't fight that by, even if there's a huge calamity, people will be conscious for about a year, but eventually it'll, we are like if you break it down, we are like how our ancestors were in Stone Age. We are a small tribe, and you have to have something to prove to the other tribe that you have. That's the nature of social media. All we are doing is we are amplifying our message, whether it's through a selfie or an whatever else we're doing. So I think human nature is not going to change. We have suddenly become more aware of everything because so much has been absorbed because we have had the time of social media. And I think that's a different bucket that we have to understand and harness. But in terms of how our patterns, our behavior, within a year and a half, I think we'll be back to what we are, what is naturally ours. So yes, it has an impact, but it will be short-lived. It'll be like a bad election or a bad movie or bad something that in 3 to 4 years, hopefully this won't come back, but we will go back to our ways.
I know there are a lot of other questions as well. Please send those out to me. I'll get the answers done from Raghu myself. I would have to close the session now. Please, Mr. J.K.Jajoo, uncle, please take over. And thank you, Raghu, for giving us all this insight. I'm sorry, we usually it's on time, 5 to 6. We have, under my moderation, it has extended 10 minutes today. I've already got a message from my father that we should be finishing now, but thank you very much.
Thank you, dearest Tarang. Thanks a lot for being a great moderator for the evening. Love you lots. And thank you, dearest Raghvendra Rathore ji, for this great evening. A beautiful journey of fashion and design. You are now undisputed king of the journey. I'm sure we'll be moving out to see our wardrobes now. We'll try out something different, something new. And thanks, Raghvendra, for taking us to a different positive word from a word of COVID-19. I'm sure we'll have a great time. And friends, the next JCF Hum Tum Series 6 is going to be different. Right now, from the word of fashion, we'll take you to the word of money. We'll be having in our Hum Tum Series 6 a big name of commerce and industry. We'll be having with us Mr. Anand Sharma, one of the most knowledgeable person about commerce and industry. He was Minister of Commerce and Industry at the time of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji. So on Wednesday, we'll have Mr. Anand Sharma. And once again, thank you very much, viewer, and thank you very much, Raghvendra Rathore. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tasleem, for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasleem. Thank you so much.